we are learning about the element of art, form. So form is when you take a shape and you're going to make it three-dimensional. So it could have different heights, widths, and depths, but you can also create form by putting the shapes together to give yourself a sculpture. So that's what we're going to be making. We're going to be making a sculpture using shapes to make form. We're going to use the principles of art, unity and movement. So unity means that it's how well everything goes together. So we want it to look like it's meant to go together, not like it's literally stuck and falling apart, or it looks like you have some weird thing that all of a sudden got there. Like if you had a entire group of, let's say, paints that were all together, and this was your sculpture, and all of a sudden you stuck randomly a thing of crayons. You would wonder, what do the crayons have to do with the paint? So it's one of those things that you want your sculpture to have unity. You want it to have things that go together and make it look like it flows nicely. So movement has to do with it looks like it is actually moving with the eye. So it means that you are looking at something and you don't just get stuck in one spot. So you find it interesting, you look at the whole entire thing, not just one spot. So we're going to get started with our shape, form, sculpture in just a moment. You are going to start with a black sheet of poster board. We want it nice and thick so it can hold up our sculpture. On the back, you're going to put your name, and yes, you can write it in pencil because it's going to show up. Pencil is gray, the paper is black, and you want to put your class code on there as well. You're going to have a pile of construction paper. You're going to have all of the primary colors, okay, yellow, blue, red, and you're going to have your secondary colors, green, orange, purple. Plus you have two neutrals, okay? You've got black, which is made when you mix everything together, and you have brown, which is a neutral. So you have these colors to create your sculpture with. You can choose to use all of them, or you can choose to use some of them. You get to decide that. Like always, we reuse, reduce, and we recycle our papers. Not recycling them like putting them into the recycling bin, but we recycle them because we reuse them in another class. So I'm going to start by picking the color I want to start with. You will have a pile of tracers on your table that are all different shapes. Some are geometric shapes, so shapes that we recognize and know, and some are more organic. That means that we can't name them. We can say, oh, it looks like a propeller on a plane, but that's not really the shape of it. So this is called free form shape, ones that we can't name. And then we have geometric shapes, shapes we know and can name. Now, I'm going to pick whatever shape I would like to start with, and notice that I'm going to slide this over and I'm going to get it right to the edge because I want the least amount of paper wasted, okay? So I can always reuse the paper because it's going to create a free-form shape. So I'm going to trace around this slowly and carefully. Now that I have that traced, I am going to use my scissors and I'm going to cut this out. So I can pick, again, any shapes that I want, okay, to do. So I could choose to pick one shape and do that one over and over and over again, or I can pick different ones. You have to be careful though. You learned in our last project that if you have to do a lot of shapes, it can take a really long time to actually get everything cut out. So you want to think it through. Maybe picking a few shapes, like 2 to 4 would be a good choice. You do not have to do that. You could pick just one if you wanted to. But again, it takes time. So now that I've got that shape, I'm going to move it off to the side so I don't lose it. Any of these little free-form things that I have cut off, I'm going to keep those because you never know, I might use them later. So I think I'm going to stick with one shape, and I'm going to just pick a few colors to do. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to continue on with my tracing and cutting of my one shape. Now that I've gotten all of my stars cut out, I've got to clear my area, because if I have all of this stuff in my way, I can't work on my sculpture. So you have to clean everything up, and you might still have a lot of people working at your table, so you might need to move to the floor, move away from the table, so that you have plenty of room. So again, I'm cleaning up, making sure that I have everything out of my way so I can start to build my sculpture. Now, this is the platform. So what you're going to do is actually use these shapes to stack against each other and begin to build a sculpture. You have to take your time. You can't rush through it. You probably won't be able to stack up these just randomly and get them to stay because things fall down. So you really have to think things through. You might have to fold, okay, edges of your star so that they will lay down onto the actual surface. So I've got a bottle of liquid glue, which you get from over by the computer in the corner of the room. Okay, so they're right in front of the printer. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue, and notice that I'm using a little bit of glue, not huge globs. And I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. So I'm going to let that stick. Don't worry if glue is sticking out, because all of that glue dries clear. So it's a slow, steady process to get them to build and hold up. So you can see one is leaning against the other. That gives it structure. So that means that I've got to carefully put some glue on the end of this star so that it will be stuck down to the actual paper. So again, I have to kind of readjust and get them to be where I want them. It's a slow, steady process. If people are coming over and talking to you, you're going to have a really hard time getting this to go together. If you cut more stars or more shapes than you actually needed, it's fine, because you can leave those for someone else. So I'm going to slowly and steadily begin to build up my sculpture so they will lean against each other. Remember, you can bend different parts of your star so that they can go together. If it falls, not a big deal. It falls. You can always put it back together. Again, going slowly and steadily is very important. Do not use a lot of glue. More glue is not better in this. Okay, more glue, a lot of the time, all it does is make your paper, okay, your shapes heavy, and then they won't stay up. So it's a slow and steady process. If something starts happening like this, the second star is kind of falling, that tells me that that isn't going to work how I had it that way. So I kind of have to change my plan and do something a little bit different. So I'm building them up. This is not something where you're going to get mad and angry and frustrated. It's more of something you're going to laugh. And the reason you're going to laugh is you're going to get it the way you want it, and then all of a sudden it's going to go blah and fall apart. And if that happens, it happens. That just means that you can go back and you can try again, which is fun because it's like you're getting to remake it until you get it the way it's going to work. So the first way you do it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the way it will stay. So you're going to have to bend it, you're going to have to turn it, you're going to have to work your shapes. I don't know, some of you might know about what's called a house of cards, and that's where you take, okay, playing cards and you try to build a house out of them. So that means you're building them so they stack up. That's almost what we're doing, but we're not using a house of cards. Oh, that looks really cool. So I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm going to take advantage of the fact that this is like that. So you'll have to kind of talk yourself through what you want it to do. You can glue the stars one to touch the other. That can always help. All right, so you just work your way through and getting your sculpture to be built. So I'm going to continue to work on mine, all right, and we'll see how it goes. So you can see I've gotten most of mine built. You have to continuously turn your sculpture all the way around and look at it from all sides. That's what three-dimensional means. We can look at it all the way around. That's what a sculpture is. So you can see like the blue star, the second one, I've bent and folded, and it's not necessarily holding up the rest of the sculpture. It has just added an element of interest. It's helped to unify, to make you look from the bottom all the way to the top. So I really slow down and I kind of push on it and I look. You have to take your time. You have to wait for some of the glue to dry. You have to do that. We have to count to 10 seconds slowly to make sure the glue is dry. If it falls apart, guys, and then you just restart. I had to restart several times, and it is okay. There is nothing wrong with restarting. That just gives you an opportunity to try something different. You can see that I'm not keeping all of my stars the same way. Sometimes I have to fold them. This helps to strengthen the star, strengthen the paper. So on this one, instead of having the star on the points, I am folding it and putting it in between. This pushes against the other paper and lets it become stronger. Again, taking my time, looking at it from all of the sides, making a plan, and thinking it through. I'm not scared for it to fall apart. So that's why I'm not worried. I know that I can just try something different if it doesn't work. On this one, instead of putting the glue on the star, I put the glue on the actual black piece of poster board. So, again, taking my time, counting to 10 seconds in my head, because we don't all want to do that out loud. Then I think it through. Should this one be moved? Is it going to work? Do I need to attach it? So you just take your time and work on all of that.